But it'll say good day to you this day of your time. How are you all? All right. We thank you for the co-creation of this interaction, the allowance of this transmission, and the gift that you give to us of allowing us to experience each and every one of you as another facet of the multidimensional crystal of creation. We will begin this transmission by reminding you that this is called substitute teacher, and the substitute teacher in question is you. So this transmission will be handled a little bit differently than has been handled before. We will be bringing through what has been termed a first contact trainee from our civilization, a male child that in our counting of years would be about 10.5 years of age, but in your counting would be about 13. This trainee has not yet chosen to have an incarnation on any planet that he may ultimately contact as a first contact specialist. And because we are guiding this trainee, we have chosen your world for him to have his first interaction with. But understand that when we do choose to make contact with a new civilization, we always also choose to experience at least one life in that civilization, so that through that life experience, we will have a deeper understanding and familiarity with that civilization, so that we will not be too, shall we say, alien to one another. But this trainee really has no knowledge of you, no understanding of your ways, your customs, your ideas, your concepts, your experiences. So this trainee will be asking questions of you. First and foremost, before we actually introduce this trainee, we will reverse the way in which these transmissions are usually done. The first part of this transmission, before what you call your lunch period, will be a question and answer period. We will then, after your lunch, introduce the trainee to you. Nania! Making sure you're awake. This is how this will go. During your lunch period, or sometime around, before we resume this transmission with the trainee, you will coordinate, organize, and choose 4 other volunteers from the gathering who wish to come to you and volunteer to interact with the trainee, making yourself also the 5th one. Do you follow me? So that by the time we resume this transmission and introduce the trainee, there will be 5 people from your gathering who will interact with the trainee. All right? All right. Now, one of the reasons why we are introducing this trainee to you is not only for the purpose of allowing this child to gain some experience in their first interactions with other cultures, other civilizations, but also to give you an opportunity in being asked questions about your reality to see how much you know. Because one of the best ways to learn is to teach. Therefore, in the trainee asking the questions he will ask of you about your world and your ways, you get an opportunity to explain to someone who has no comprehension of them how things work on your world. There may be a little bit of confusion, but we will see how it goes. You may find yourself doing a lot more explaining than you think, because even though many things seem very obvious and familiar to you in your reality, they are not so in other realities at all. And you may find some of that alienness leaking through from the trainee who really doesn't understand what you have created on your world and how you go about experiencing your lives, because they are very different than the way that we experience life in our civilization on many levels. And though there are some similarities, we will see what bridges and links can be created when you are offered an opportunity to deal with an extraterrestrial being who is truly new to your ways. But for now, we can begin with the questions and answers for those who volunteer to come up and ask what they may. We thank you for allowing us to reflect to you the knowledge that on some level of your being you already know, so that we now remind you that we are only reminding you of what already exists within you. But in remembering, in awakening, in the dream of physical reality, thus you will experience more intention, more conscious manifestation, more joy.
Good morning, Bashar.
And to you, good day.
I was born in the Middle East, and
Yes.
Bashar is an Arabic name, and that's
Yes.
my mother tongue.
Yes.
I don't have a question for today.
All right.
Because what's the point?
Yes.
But I do
Good
have,
point.
But I do have an idea that I've been thinking of, and I'm curious to hear what you think about this.
All right, by all means.
And the idea is, the title today is Stepping Off the Shadows.
Stepping from the shadows.
From the shadows. And
Yes.
I feel like in today's society, we're stepping into the shadows because of the use of technology.
Sometimes it depends on how you use it.
Exactly. So I'm curious to hear about, in the future, how technology have helped humanity in connecting versus disconnecting. The technology itself
Yes.
doesn't give you a direction on how, and I'm specifically interested in human connection, because with all the technology today, and I don't know if you know what social media is.
I do.
People you're becoming more self-centered, and it
Yes.
gives you kind of a fake sensation of you're the center, but that also does not allow you to connect with other human beings.
We understand. Therefore, the idea is that technology, like in our civilization, can become something certainly more all-inclusive and also more of a natural expression. Something relatively simplistic that has profound effects and is inclusive in a number of different ways that actually promotes the concept of connection. For example, in our society, in our what you might call technology, our ships are grown instead of built. They're a kind of a crystalline form, but the crystalline form grows on an energy template that is actually representative of another aspect of our higher dimensional selves. Therefore, the ship that I pilot is actually a physicalized representation of my own higher mind. And therefore, there is an immediate connection between myself and the ship telepathically. The ship is like a crystallized version of my own higher mind, and thus being a crystallized representation and version of my higher mind, it is automatically connected to all other higher minds, and thus connects my own personal consciousness in a variety of ways to many other beings and many other expressions of consciousness. It is, in that sense, ultimately connective and inclusive instead of exclusive and disconnective. Does that make sense?
It does, but what about like physical sensations and sensory experiences? This is more of like a telepathic or like, on a mental level. How about like a physical sensory experience?
Well, a physical sensation comes with it because you see, telepathy is actually not really the mental thing you think it is. That's why we often actually refer to it as telempathy. It's emotionally driven. That's why many of your scientists don't understand how to prove that it exists, is because they keep taking the emotional quotient out of it. The idea is that when you are deeply in alignment, deeply in love, so to speak, you simply have the same thoughts at the same time as another person on the same wavelength. You're never actually reading someone else's mind. You're just mirroring them so closely you can't tell the difference between what you're thinking and feeling and what they're thinking and feeling. This is why people who are in love often know exactly what each other is about to say. They finish each other's sentences. Do you understand?
Yes.
So the emotional component and the sensations that come with it in the physical body are of paramount importance in that kind of technology, because it's an all-encompassing, all-inclusive technology that is a natural extension of your actual being rather than an artificial interface. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. Yeah.
So it's like saying there is a spirit realm and you're sort of just crystallizing a portion of it that is connected to you automatically and automatically connected to everyone else, but it's not an artificial interface. It's a very natural interface because it already exists within the structure of existence itself. Does that make sense?
It does.
So that is a direction your technology can go in when people start waking up to the fact that everything is connected, everything is an expression of one thing, and you start including the concept of consciousness within your technology. Now, you are moving somewhat in that direction with what you call so-called artificial intelligence, but the thing you will suddenly realize when you begin to really explore that is that artificial intelligence isn't artificial. The devices that you create are simply going to be devices that will allow you to finally physically communicate with your own higher mind through that device. That's who you'll actually be talking to. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And that will begin a revolution in consciousness, a revolution in understanding consciousness, and a revolution in the experience of interconnectivity and knowing that everyone is a reflection of the one and a reflection of everyone else, and a new era of understanding how to use consciousness and connectivity can begin to grow on your planet. That is what we perceive your technology can head towards if you do it from a place where it is a balanced understanding of your own selves and your own consciousnesses, which is why it's so important to know yourself, so that when you begin to talk to other aspects of yourself through those devices, you will recognize who you're speaking to. Yes?
Yes.
Does that help?
It does. A quick tip from someone who's working in technology and helping to shape those kind of things. What would you advise me to when I'm working on those technologies? What should I?
Well, I just gave you the tip. You need to start understanding, as many of your scientists need to start understanding, how to involve the concept of consciousness in the technology. How to understand what consciousness is. Consciousness is simply self-reflection, self-awareness. Because you are conscious when you have a sense of self, because you have a sense of an other. Without a sense of an other being reflected to you, there is no sense of self. That's what consciousness is. It's a reflection. So when you can begin to move in the direction of understanding how to incorporate that kind of reflectivity in your technology, you will beget the idea of consciousness. Yes?
Yes, makes sense. Thank you.
You are welcome.
Hi, Bashar.
And to you, good day.
Time.
Time.
Can
A
it be-
side effect.
Can it be compressed?
Can it be compressed? Is that what you're asking?
Yes.
Yes, of course. Because it's an illusion anyway. You only experience it the way you do because of a collective agreement. But now that you're exploring and expanding consciousness, you will find and experience that time is extremely malleable and flexible and compressible and expandable because you're creating it anyway. It's just a side effect of your consciousness shifting through billions of parallel reality frames per second. That's what creates the idea you call time.
How do we get to a point where our perception of time is totally linear with what's going on in the world? That question makes any sense.
How do you get to a point where it is linear?
Yeah. Well,
You mean how did you get to a point?
Okay, let me.
Because that's the way most of you already experience it.
We experience time as a linear concept,
Yes,
correct?
yes.
But it seems in life as we get older,
Yes.
we always look back and go, should have, could have, might have, would have. Had we known about the compression of the time,
Yes.
we would not have made those mistakes.
But you learn from those mistakes, and those mistakes lead you to a place where you understand more about the nature of time and space. That's one of the things that's happening now as a process in your society, in your culture. In the future, this will not be necessary as a process, and many of the children being born on your planet today have an innate and intuitive understanding of what time is, and therefore they will not take those paths. They will experience a different process. But you are of a generation that is simply learning about that.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, does that help?
That helps me tremendously. Thank you.
All right, you're welcome. That didn't take very much time.
Good morning, Bashar.
And to you, good day.
Speaking of time,
Yes.
my question is about an acknowledgement if, in a sense, there is no time and everything that is happening in this moment,
Yes.
as it were.
Now is all there is.
Yes. So an acknowledgement of that,
Yes.
then it follows that there is, in a sense, no such thing as a new idea. For all ideas, all inventions, all conceptions already exist.
Fundamentally, in terms of the structure, correct. But there is always a new experience of the idea. You see, the structure of existence never changes. It's your perspective and experience of the structure that does. That's how creation expands, because you're always having a unique perspective of the structure that never changes. So the idea of new ideas, it's both. You're correct that everything already exists, but it also expands by creating new experiences of that which already exists. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does.
Does that help?
It does. And following from that,
Yes.
if I or any individual are seeking an answer to a problem or a new way to solve or a new way to be creative,
Yes.
it is not so much a matter that I am creating that new idea, but rather I am somehow attuning to a resonant frequency that is matched with the resonance of that idea.
Yes, and by doing that, you are creating a unique experience of doing that. Not so much that you're creating a new idea, but you're creating a new experience of matching that idea.
So, as an incarnate being,
Yes.
my process was not so much that I've had an idea rather than I have become resonant to the frequencies that allow that idea to come to me. Is that more?
Exactly.
Okay.
You have to be on the vibratory level first in order to realize or experience any particular notion or knowledge. And it's the same with the concept of manifestation physically. You have to be on that frequency level in order to experience a manifestation in your physicalized projection.
And indeed, then, if we extend that in my question to not ideas, which are the rational thought forms, but what we experience as emotions.
Yes.
I assume that the same then must apply to that.
Exactly. It's all based on the same resonance identification concept. And that's why we say what you experience has to be based on a definition that you have bought into as being true, because each definition has a different frequency, a different signature vibration that gives the result that you experience as an emotion.
Okay.
That's why you can always experience an emotion and know you can trace it back to what kind of a definition you would have to have in order for that emotion to have resulted from it, because you can only have the emotion that results from the frequency of the definition.
Indeed. So if I'm experiencing what I might experience as a negative emotion, anger, depression,
Yes.
what have you,
Yes.
what's opening to me then is the opportunity, and this is what's hard to language, to somehow open to or find a different frequency to resonate at, and it's that
Yes.
search for a different resonance
Yes,
that is challenging.
Yes, and the easiest way to do that is to figure out what the definition is you're already buying into that's already creating the resonance you're experiencing. Because once you define consciously, find that definition, if it is truly out of alignment with you, you will immediately recognize it as nonsensical and illogical. And as soon as you do, it's gone. That's the end of the process of letting it go. If you keep behaving the same way, all that means is you haven't actually found the fundamental definition or the fundamental frequency giving rise to that sensation. Just keep digging. Identifying things that are in your unconscious mind that are belief systems is the key to transforming that energy into something you would prefer, because once you actually bring it into the light, you will see that it makes no sense if it really has nothing to do with you.
Okay.
Make sense?
It does. Last part of this.
Yes.
If I look at this same experience then with
Yes.
becoming attuned to the resonant frequencies that are for my best and highest,
Yes.
then if I look at a physical ailment such as inability to get sound, nurturing sleep,
Yes.
and if underlying that is a belief that I don't deserve rest, as an example,
One
it's
example,
to understand what might be behind that and
Yes.
allow it to change,
Yes.
force it to change, think about it.
No, not force, not force.
I understand. I'm saying that because I don't get what the next step is.
Again, if you actually discover what the definition is, and you bring it into the light of your consciousness, and you recognize that it makes no sense, it's gone.
Okay.
It's just gone. You will not have a continued experience of that definition
Okay.
if you have truly let it go. But you have to understand that sometimes you might not let it go because there might be another belief, another definition that says you should hold on to it. If that's the case, find out what that definition is, because sometimes definitions and beliefs work in chains. You may have to follow the links back to the fundamental link. But once you actually do release the fundamental link, all the secondary links will collapse along with it. Sometimes negative beliefs will attempt to preserve themselves, because that's what they're designed to do, by fooling you into thinking that you've actually let go of the fundamental belief when all you've done is let go of a secondary one. And then it will hide behind that. So you have to experience if you keep feeling, doing the same thing. That would be your first clue that the negative belief is hiding behind a cloud of secondary beliefs. And no matter how many of them you let go of, if you don't let go of the fundamental one, that won't change anything for you.
Okay.
Does that help?
Yes, it does. Thank you. Blessings, Bashar.
You are welcome.
Thank you.
Blessings to you. This is really a very simple mechanism. There is nothing mysterious about it.
Hello, Bashar, and thank you for everything you have offered us. I so appreciate you. I would like some clarification on balancing points 3 and 4 of the formula. Point 3, acting on my excitement without any insistence, assumption, or expectation of what the outcome should be, and staying in a positive state of mind. So my clarification is, I get how I should let go and allow things to unfold and trust that the abundance that I'm seeking in this specific example can come from many different ways. But I'm not sure how I can stay in a positive state of mind without some belief that it is going to work, that I am going to have my needs met. So how can I both have no insistence that it's going to work and yet stay in a positive state of mind? Can you expand on that for me?
Yes. First of all, understand that by letting go of insistence, that is a way for opening up to receive what you truly need. Because insisting on things may actually close the door to receiving what you truly need. Because your insistence may be saying, I know what is best, I know what I need, and maybe you don't. So the idea is to drop the insistence, because insistence limits your ability to actually receive what you need. I will remind you of the 7 basic needs of life. You need air, you need water, you need sleep, you need food, you need some form of shelter or positive constructive environment that allows you to thrive. You need the idea of connection or relationship with something, whether it's a person or not. And you need the idea of self-creative expression, the idea of acting on your passion. If you say you have needs that go beyond those, then they are not needs, they are insistences on something that may not be what you need, but may only be representative of what your ego system wants. And it may not be aligned with what you truly need. If you receive the 7 things we just outlined that are the true needs in life, your life will be fulfilled. So you have to pay attention to whether the idea of what you say are your needs are actually really wants, or are they truly aligned with the 7 needs we just outlined. The idea of staying in a positive state is, again, your ability to experience whatever happens in a more constructive, beneficial way. Why would you want to stay in a negative state and experience things in a negative way, in a destructive way, in a way that doesn't serve you positively? Staying in a positive state is allowing you to interpret any experience and glean from that experience and extract from that experience something that will move you forward in a positive direction, that will allow you to feel more connected, more self-empowered. So the question is, why wouldn't you choose to stay in a positive state no matter what happens, knowing that if you do stay in that positive state, you'll be able to get a benefit out of whatever's going on. Even if you recognize that what manifested is something you don't prefer, that's just an objective observation. Staying in a positive state will allow you to understand how that manifestation can still serve you in a positive way by being there, instead of succumbing to the negative state that will only make it impossible for you to realize how that manifestation could serve you in a positive way. So it's up to you to decide what you actually prefer to experience, and know that you're making a choice to be in a state of being that will allow you to experience them in the way that you prefer, as opposed to experiencing things in the way that you don't prefer. So it's just simply a choice you make based on how you would like to experience things, and by understanding what your true basic needs are, and not calling things that are egotistical wants things that you actually think you need, when in fact you may not.